Hello, a very warm welcome to Granada Reports. Coming up on the programme this evening.
It's my job to try to make Rochdale great again. I know some of you don't like that slogan, but Rochdale was great, and why should it not be great again?
George Galloway, our region's newest MP, returns to Parliament with a promise to fight for the people of Rochdale. A major chemical leak brings roads to a standstill on the outskirts of Manchester.
Cameras are ready.
The diary room is open.
The ultimate social experiment is about to begin.
The stage is set. Celebrity Big Brother is back tonight. Don't miss our exclusive look behind the scenes.
A frosty night with clear skies last night, allowing some of us to see the Aurora Borealis here in the northwest. Find out what the weather has in store for this week later on in the programme.
And I'm at Hoylake Lifeboat Station to wish a very happy 200th birthday to the Royal National Lifeboat Institute, the charity run by volunteers and funded by donations that saved thousands of lives on the shores of Britain. I'll be talking to a coxswain and finding out about the lifeboat itself a little bit later on in the programme.
Yes, please stay with us for that special thank you to those people who keep us safe on our shores. First, though, the region's newest MP, George Galloway, has taken up his seat in Parliament. He now represents Rochdale for the Workers' Party of Britain. He's promising to, in his words, make Rochdale great again. The constituency was previously held by Labour, and the Prime Minister has labelled the by-election campaign as one of the most divisive in recent times. So let's cross live now to our political correspondent, Andrew Misra in Westminster. Andrew, what sort of reception did George Galloway get there today?
Well, Lucy, I think it's fair to say that the media were probably more excited than MPs here about the return of George Galloway to Parliament after nearly a decade away. This is, believe it or not, the fourth time that he's been sworn in, and there were rumours that the former Labour MP would be accompanied by the former Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn. That didn't turn out to be the case in the end. But beforehand, Mr Galloway met with the House of Commons Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, who is, of course, also the Chorley MP. And I think a lot of people here would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that conversation. Afterwards, Galloway headed straight outside to address the media and had his trademark fedora hat back on.
It's my job to try to make Rochdale great again. I know some of you don't like that slogan, but Rochdale was great. And why should it not be great again? In particular, we have to save the football team. So I'm doing everything I can to try and stop that outflow of lifeblood. And there are many constituencies in the towns around Rochdale, Oldham, Blackburn, Burnley, Nelson, Bury. We'll be putting candidates up in all these places, and we will either win or we'll make sure that Keir Starmer doesn't win.
So, Andrew, George Galloway is stressing that he wants to make Rochdale great again, but we know his election was also about the situation in Gaza, wasn't it?
It absolutely was, Lucy. In fact, he said, didn't he, when he won on Friday, that this win was for Gaza. And earlier at that speech that you've just heard from, he also said he intends to ask a question at Prime Minister's Questions on Wednesday if he gets chance. I asked what that question might be, and he said that it would be about Gaza. We also heard the Prime Minister make his own address outside Downing Street on Friday, addressing what he called divisive politics, and he said that he was beyond alarmed about the election of George Galloway. But I think his return here is actually more awkward for Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, than it is for Rishi Sunak. And the reason for that is that Labour ultimately should have won this by-election, but they got themselves into such a mess. They dropped their candidate after he made remarks about Israel, and that helped Mr Galloway go on and win after campaigning on a very much pro-Gaza ceasefire stance. We know that that's a very sensitive issue for Labour at the moment. We saw 3 North West Labour MPs a few months ago leave the shadow front bench over the issue. And in a nutshell, what Galloway is going to try and do here over the next few months is try to exploit any potential divisions within the Labour Party over that issue. I think the big question now, though, is how much impact he can have as a single lone voice among 650 MPs.
Andrew will be watching. Thanks very much. On to other news now. A major incident was declared at a manufacturing plant in Greater Manchester today after a chemical leak at an industrial estate in Trafford. The substance, known as phosphorus oxychloride, leaked from a tanker at the Lanxess manufacturing plant shortly before 9 o'clock this morning. One person was taken to hospital for further treatment. The area has since reopened. A new hub set up to tackle racial inequality has been launched on Merseyside. £2 million has been invested in the Race Equality Hub, which will help firms access investments, loans and grants. The director says it is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to tackle racism in employment and business.
So we're asking them to engage with us in courageous conversations. I think one of the things that we know is that people are frightened to talk about race and racism. We don't want people to be frightened. We want people to engage with us, to tell us what is going on, what do you think the issues are, what do you think the problems are. Dealing with racism is not rocket science. It's about treating people with dignity and respect.
People in Barrow will have the chance to write their own tribute to the television chef Dave Myers, one of the hairy bikers, of course. The proud Cumbrian died on Thursday after a 2-year fight with cancer. A book of condolence has been opened at the Forum Theatre. And there's been the first daytime disco for over 30s in Manchester, with another planned for Liverpool in May. It's called Day Fever. It's the brainchild of one of the stars of Line of Duty, Vicky McClure. So people can go out and rave, but be home for an early night by 8 o'clock.
When you're, working or you've got family commitments, all kinds of things, this just means you can have a great time, have a good dance to music that you really love, go out and meet friends, meet new people, and then you still get home at the right time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might be interested in that. Well, I'm back later with Mike for the sport. We're also going inside the Big Brother house. Before that, though, of course, it is a big day for the lifeboats today, and that means a big day for Hoylake. So let's cross live now to go back to Gamal at Hoylake Lifeboat Station. Gamal.
Lucy, many thanks indeed. A daytime disco for the over 30s. That's got my name written all over it. A very good evening to you all from this historic lifeboat station. It is one of the busiest in our region and a perfect place for us to mark 200 years of the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, or the RNLI as we know it. Now, earlier today, just a few miles away on the Mersey, history was made as a flotilla of lifeboats sailed down the river to celebrate those 2 centuries of saving lives along our shoreline. There were vessels from 3 stations on the Wirral, here at Hoylake, West Kirby and New Brighton. And they were joined by lifeboat from Lytham on the Fylde coast. Actually, there are 13 lifeboat stations on the coast of the Northwest and the Isle of Man. And this one is very special. It's actually older than the RNLI itself. There have been rescue teams heading out to sea from this area for 221 years. Now, way back then, they had nothing like this £2 million plus boat. In fact, to begin with, they didn't even have life jackets. The crews have saved hundreds upon hundreds of lives, all in that time. Our correspondent, Rob Smith, met one woman who says she and her daughter wouldn't be around today if it hadn't been for the Hoylake crew who rescued them.
Racing to rescue 2 people stuck in coastal mud amid a rising tide. Bunter Evans and her daughter Charlie came across a landslip while on a shoreline walk in Wirral in February 2021. Trying to reach solid ground didn't work.
She took about 7 steps on some stones and disappeared up to her thighs.
Up to her thighs?
Up to her thighs, yes.
What went through your mind at that point?
Help.
Can we do it nice and gently?
A lifeboat crew from Hoylake dug the pair from the thickest mud these rescuers say they've ever encountered. This just one of thousands of call-outs on this stretch of coast during the RNLI's 200 years.
Do you have problems breathing? Are you okay?
No, it's fine, thanks.
How thankful are you that they were there?
I couldn't be more thankful. I mean, who knows what might have happened if they hadn't turned up. I suppose somebody would have dug us out, but I don't know whether they'd have had the skills, and they certainly wouldn't have had a hovercraft. That was the problem. It needed some sort of vehicle that could get over sand and water and mud. You know, Land Rover was going to sink, and a boat couldn't get close enough.
It saved you and your daughter's life.
Yes, they did.
For those celebrating the big anniversary here, history's even longer and prouder.
Rescuers were saving lives on this part of the coast long before the RNLI came into existence. There's been a lifeboat station in Hoylake for 221 years. And to the volunteers of today, those crews of old were a special breed.
We have instances where people will call us heroes. Those men and women who went out in the early 1800s with a fraction of the personal protective equipment that we have, with a fraction of the state-of-the-art vessels we had. They put their lives at risk every single time they went to sea. So much respect.
The state-of-the-art today is this jet boat capable of carrying 61 people to safety. It cost more than £2 million to build, all funded by donations.
We were one of the oldest charities in UK, and we can't help but thank the public enough for what they do to help us, so we can then go out and rescue lives.
Present to say thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
In a special tin.
They may not consider themselves heroes, but others do. Others whose lives would have been lost without them. Rob Smith, ITV News, Hoylake.
Really is incredible stuff, isn't it? Well, I'm delighted to say that joining me now is Howie Owen, who's the coxswain here at Hoylake. Howie, really good to see you. Warm welcome to you. You were a volunteer for 27 years before going to full-time. You're a coxswain here. Just tell us a little bit about what that job entails.
So as coxswain on the station, you're in charge of looking after the crew, making sure they're safe at all times, helping with the training, and obviously making sure the lifeboat and the hovercraft and everything else is all ready, serviced between myself and mechanic. But also, it's a big crew involvement. I wouldn't be where I am without the crew of the station to help me out.
This is a £2 million plus boat. What more can you tell us about it? Because £2 million is a heck of a lot of money.
Yes. So it was obviously it was all paid for by people who want to donate, or all donations by the RNLI to us. It's the first one in its class to be water jet driven instead of standard propeller drive. So it's ideal for shallow waters where we operate. And as we say, it's more modern than all the latest lifeboats. So our one now is 10 years old, but it does well.
And the money you receive in the main are from the generous contribution of the public. You get very little funding from the government.
Yeah, everything we get is from the public's donation, whether it's street collections, people generous to leave it in their wills to us, or when we have fundraising events like car washes, open days, and people just walking past, and we've got the shops as well.
The founder of the RNLI approached the government for funding back in 1824. Nothing came of that. You're kind of still in the same position 200 years later. Many people find it very difficult to believe that after all these years saving all these lives, you still heavily rely on the funding from members of the public.
We do, and obviously the RNLI would not be where it is 200 years down the road without the very kind generosity of all the public and people who donate to us and help us. Yeah. And with them, we can still, we're proud to be where we are and what we do, save everyone that we can at going to sea.
Yeah, important work. Howie, many thanks indeed for your time. Well, next, history tells us that the RNLI was formed in a pub in London in March 1824. But its founder, Sir William Henry, didn't get the idea a few years earlier, in fact, after he had moved to the Isle of Man. Now, he had seen firsthand the conditions that forced ships to wreck off the Manx coast. And our Isle of Man reporter Joshua Stokes looks back at its formation and also see why this is a service that is so cherished 200 years on.
In its 200-year history, the RNLI has been an integral part of island life. While it's widely recognised in seaside towns across the British Isles, it's a legacy that started here on the shores of the Isle of Man, after one man's vision of safer seas.
Sir William Hillary was the founder of the RNLI. From this position, he could see out over Douglas Bay and look out the ships that were getting into trouble. This is where he would look out.
On the cliffs of Douglas, Sir William Hillary saw firsthand just how treacherous the sea can be.
What he's looking at now, the statue, is what he was looking at when he was alive. So what we see now, this sea, is exactly the same. The tides are the same, the currents are the same, even the weather is the same. He was a visionary in a lot of things that he did. He wanted to move forward and get things done.
And it wasn't long before he did just that, leading a campaign in London to form the institution, eventually leading to one of the first lifeboat stations.
Welcome to Douglas Boathouse.
A working museum of RNLI heritage.
This is our history. It's no small part that we've still got all this here to remind us of where we've come from.
And given Peter's role, that's a legacy of great importance.
It's a very privileged position for me to have at this particular time, because the original one was Sir William Hillary 200 years ago. I'm duty bound now to make sure I take it forward on my watch to make sure we're going to be still there for the next 200 years.
Douglas is one of many lifeboat stations on the island, with all 5 saving a total of 1,665 lives in the charity's long history. Down in the southwest, the team at Port St Mary are proud to be involved.
I just feel very lucky to be part of that history in the 200 years that it's been going. I've seen plenty of women in the RNLI, and that's what inspired me to start. It sounds very cliche, but it is like one big family. It's like having 20 brothers, so it does get a bit fun at times, let's say.
And it's that teamwork around the island's coastline that inspires the volunteers.
You know, we've got 5 stations on a relatively small island, but we're in a quite crucial place in the middle of the Irish Sea. And I think that heritage is important. It helps everyone feel like they're all part of it.
And hopefully with the 200, this will push younger kids and people who never thought about coming to join, to help as crew, volunteers, or anything to do with the stations to come forward, and that will push us on for the next 50, 100, 200 years and beyond.
It's that fundamental message that's shared across all stations here, following the same principles of the man who started it all and continuing his legacy from the very same shores 200 years on. Joshua Stokes, ITV News in the Isle of Man.
Wonderful stuff. OK, there'll be more from me and the team here in Hoylake in a few moments' time, but let's go back to Lucy in the studio. Hello, Lucy.
Now, they've been responsible for some of the greatest days in Accrington Stanley's history, but long-serving duo John Coleman and Jimmy Bell have been sacked by the club. Manager Coleman and his assistant have been there nearly 23 years over 2 periods, but Saturday's 4-0 defeat at Wrexham spelled the end of their reign. Accrington are currently 16th in League 2. First-team coach John Doolan has been appointed interim boss. Elsewhere in the same division, an incredible fight back by Morecambe, who trailed 2-0 at Crewe before winning the match 3-2. And Rob Apter's 87th minute strike earned Tranmere Rovers a 1-0 win at home to Sutton United. While in League One, Bolton Wanderers made a welcome return to winning ways. They beat Cambridge United 2-0 and a third in the table. Well worth celebrating, as you can see. Fleetwood Town boosted their survival hopes thanks to a 4-2 home win against Wigan Athletic. And Blackpool kept their promotion hopes alive with a 2-0 victory away at Shrewsbury Town. Gareth Taylor has this evening signed a new 3-year deal to continue as manager of Manchester City Women. Only goal difference is keeping his side off the top spot in the Women's Super League. They beat Everton 2-1 at the weekend. Manchester United's top 4 hopes suffered another setback as they were held to a 1-1 draw by West Ham. But Liverpool made it 2 wins in a row. Emma Koivisto scored twice in the 4-1 victory at Aston Villa. Finally to Rugby League, and after wins for Wigan, Warrington and St Helens on Friday, Salford picked up maximum points too. They made it back-to-back Super League victories with a 17 points to 10 result at home to Hull KR. It moves them up to 6th in the table. And that's your sport, Lucy.
Yes, it was, Mike, thank you. Well, next up, we're going inside the Big Brother house as the new show starts tonight. Now, we might not know for sure the celebrity lineup yet, but we do know who one of the biggest stars of the show will be. Whatever show she's on, she always is. It's the popular presenter from Blackburn, AJ Odudu. She's co-hosting with Will Best. Our reporter Simran Johal went to catch up with them.
The cameras are ready.
The diary room is open.
The ultimate social experiment is about to begin.
AJ, being a Lancashire girlie, what's it like to have the whole of Blackburn behind you?
Oh, I mean, Blackburn, it's my hometown. That's where all my dreams were formed, where I got all of my northern grit, and it's so good to be hosting Celebrity Big Brother now alongside my mate Will.
Oh, they can run, but there's one place they can't hide.
You know, the beautiful thing about Celebrity Big Brother is that it's all about the cast, isn't it? It's all about who walks through those doors.
And the format, you know, we've always said that from the start, like, trust the format. Putting people together in a house with a load of cameras and locking the doors, you get TV magic. It just happens every time.
Later tonight, we'll see all the celebrity contestants come through those doors and come take a seat right here before they're locked here for the next few weeks. Now, Celebrity Big Brother is returning for the first time in 6 years and also 23 years, nearly to the day that it was last on our TV screens. We've had a lot of North West names come on this show and a lot of North West winners too. We've got Bez from Happy Mondays and Colleen Nolan and the most recent winner, Ryan Thomas. So will we have another North West winner? We'll just have to wait and find out.
Oh, very well put, but
we don't know. We literally don't know anything. At the time of recording, we've got no idea. Honestly, we know as much as you. We've read the rumours online, but we don't know. And the people that work on this show, the poker faces, tried to grill them for information, get nothing, get out.
What's it like to take over such an iconic position presenting something that is basically a heritage reality TV show?
You want to do justice not just to the presenters who've gone before, but also the show itself. I mean, we're both massive fans of the show. So it was daunting, but as soon as it started, the fact that I get to do it with my mate just makes it, you forget that it's work.
There's something special about this show. I feel like it's the one show which involves everyone in the studio, but everyone at home watching literally shapes the way that the show goes, who stays, all of that. It's all down to the viewer. So it's going to be really good to feel connected with everyone at home.
Definitely.
Watching. Oh my gosh, cancel all plans. Celebrity Big Brother is here. We're on.
Celebrity Big Brother will be back tonight at 9 p.m. on ITV1. Simran Johal, ITV News.
Great to see AJ doing so well. That's it from the studio tonight. Joe has the weather coming up very soon, but now it's time to get back to Gamal at the Lifeboat station at Hoylake. Gamal.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, we are here on a very special day for the RNLI. Just time for a very quick word with the coxswain here, Howie Owen. Howie, summer months are fast approaching us. I mean, what would your message be to people who will be going out over the summer to enjoy our beautiful northwest coastline?
Yeah, please come down, enjoy the beaches, enjoy the water, but obviously keep an eye on the weather. Make sure you got an idea what the weather's doing, the wind, and obviously the tides. If you're on the beach, make sure you're not going to get cut off in there. If there's an area that you're not sure of, come to speak to the Coast Guard, the lifeboat stations, or even go to a lifeguard station, which will be around the countries as well.
Okay. Howie, many thanks indeed for your time. Good sound advice. Well, there is no doubt that this service has transformed over the last years. Earlier, we saw a flotilla of lifeboats on the River Mersey celebrating 200 years of saving lives by the RNLI. These days, they are more likely to rescue walkers, paddleboarders and wild swimmers than the crews of stricken ships. But the fundamental ethos of the RNLI remains the same: to help those who are in distress in the water. This service is now part of our national consciousness. Long may that continue. From me and the team here in Hoylake, a very good night. Take care. Bye-bye.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. Very good evening to you. After a lovely couple of days with plenty of blue skies, we have some rain in store for tonight, after which our weather will be settling down once more and feeling less cold through the middle part of the week. However, there's a real push-pull between milder conditions and the colder air, and that eventually wins out by Friday, turning any showers a little bit wintry up in the Pennines to end the working week. However, back to this evening. Skies turning increasingly cloudy, brisk winds and showery rain becoming persistent for a time before midnight, always moving further north and east though, and clearing much of the northwest into the early hours of tomorrow morning, leaving behind some low cloud, mistiness, winds beginning to ease down, and for rural parts of Cheshire and Derbyshire tonight, that's going to allow temperatures to dip away for a touch of frost and perhaps a few icy stretches before tomorrow morning. On to tomorrow. First of all, the sun's up at 6:48. It's going to set at 5:57. It could be a damp start perhaps in the Pennines initially, low cloud and mistiness around, but for most places dry and increasingly blue skies get out with lots of sunshine for the northwest. More cloud always for the Isle of Man and patchy rain and drizzle there, but for most of us a dry day, and with the benefit of very light winds, it should feel pleasant at around 10 or 11 Celsius with slightly more cloud building by the end of the day. The settled theme continues through the middle part of the week. Wednesday and Thursday look decent, and then temperatures will begin to take a little bit of a dip as we head towards the end of the working week. And this has the potential, as I mentioned before, just to turn any showers slightly wintry up on higher ground. We'll of course keep you posted on that. Enjoy your evening.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.